Okay, hello everyone. I am here with KP from boardstudios.com. He is going to tell us today all about how to host a virtual summit, why you want to, best practices for it, what you can do before, during, and after to promote it, why you want to do it, all of that really awesome stuff that you have probably been wondering for quite some time. We're going to give everyone just a couple of minutes to join us. I know it's about 2 minutes after the hour. We'll give everybody until like 4 minutes after, and then we can jump in and get started. But yeah, KP, thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy that you are here today.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what we can expect today about how to do all this virtual summit awesomeness, and then we can jump in?
Oh, sure. So, my company is Board Studios, and we work with clients to help with their video strategy and production. And we are constantly on the lookout for the greatest video tools and platforms, and that's how we came across lately. And your team, your amazing team, and we'd love to do a collaboration. So, by way of trying to add some value to your audience, we came up with explaining a little bit about hosting virtual summits. It's something we've done in the past quite a bit, and it's working out very well.
Awesome.
And I think it's one of the tactics that will catch on in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. I like this is as much as we may not want it to be the new normal. It definitely is that way. And so I think definitely learning some best practice tips on virtual summits is going to be so incredibly helpful for everyone in the audience. So I guess we can give it a couple more minutes. So yeah, before we get started, so I'm in Denver, Colorado. Everybody, it is kind of an icky day today. It's a little overcast. It's pretty windy, but other than that, spring is trying to poke its way through. And where are you again, KP?
I'm in Hoboken, just outside of New York, on the New Jersey side.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I've never been to Hoboken, but I have been to New Jersey a handful of times. So
that's
it's good
great.
stuff. I do miss home. That is home is New York, and I do miss it. But we're all just doing what we can, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, awesome. So I think let's go ahead and jump in. Do you want to go ahead and share your screen, or is there anything you wanted to go over first?
I'm sharing the screen right now. I don't know if you can see it.
Perfect. Yes, we can. We are good to
Okay.
go.
Great. So I tried to make it a little fun, and I'm going to be covering why host a virtual summit and then how to do it and what not to do. And it's whenever I've explained it to people, it's something very difficult to grasp because we have this preconceived notion that companies host summits to promote themselves, promote their thought leadership. But this is something very different. It's much more like podcasting, the way it's working now for B2B companies, where instead of doing a podcast to show your ideas, you are interviewing people that you want to connect with. So it's a platform to help you connect with the right people, high value clients, potential channel partners. So who is it for? B2B service type businesses where it makes sense to make connections with potentially high ticket clients and prospects. And it's for companies that find it a little difficult to sell through cold strategies. Cold strategies may work very well when you have something very simple, a simple offering or a very compelling offer. But if it's something more complicated and you have to really develop a relationship, it's increasingly difficult to do that with cold tactics, cold
Mhm.
emailing, cold calling. So if you want to connect with high value clients and channel partners, we have found that virtual summits are perhaps the best way currently. And of course, these things change in the B2B strategy world. So the goal of a virtual summit is not a successful conference in the conventional sense. You're not looking for a big audience. You're not looking for ticket sales. You're not trying to make money out of the conference. Instead, you want to create warm relationships with potential high value clients, build goodwill, establish trust and likability. And by interviewing these people through a virtual summit forum, you create these strong relationships.
Just to
The,
chime in here, KP, I think that
yeah,
this is so interesting because honestly, I also kind of thought of it as a conference in the traditional sense. But what you're saying is, I think, so brilliant because people people don't want to just go to the me show, right? They
Yeah,
want
exactly.
they that's not like that's all well and good and everything, but it can be kind of boring. It can be kind of dry. And I think that this is so much more interesting, and I think really fits with the lately value system as well, with just, interacting with humans and being human and learning about others that way, rather than just, like, hey, waving the lately flag all the time.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Awesome.
It's it's think about in your audience and how can you add value to your audience?
Hmm.
And it's probably not that they want to hear from you and what solutions that you have, but maybe you can bring some experts. And if these experts can be your channel partners or if they can be prospects for your business, that's a win-win. So first, you want to figure out how to add value because nobody wants another conference. Nobody will attend another conference. But your primary motivation is not let me get on camera, let me be on many screens, let me create my social media content. It's more about who do I want to connect with? How can I
Hmm.
make them look good? And how can I put an event around this?
Yeah.
The key is to make your speakers look great. Ask good questions that lead to shareable insights. And that's where lately really helps because once you have something long form,
Hmm.
that's one of the biggest mistakes. Many companies create these virtual summits that are great and they post 45 minutes, 1 hour sessions.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to watch these.
That's too long. Yeah.
And you guys are at the sweet spot where automatically you can extract these insights because it's also a lot of work going back to
Hmm.
watch through a 1 hour session to extract them. And if you have 10 of those, that's 10 hours. It's brutal. So
It
having a tool
is.
to extract them, it's really powerful.
Amazing. Yeah, man, do you wanna work for us?
No, but I love the lately value proposition is great.
Thank you.
It's something that we really need. I think a lot of our clients need, and I think a lot of people who watch this, they will need something like this.
Mhm.
The most brutal thing is the editing. You can create the event, you can have all this content, and then you're like, okay, how do I repurpose it? How do I get it in front of more people? I have to create these short clips for social media.
Mhm.
And when we do it by hand, it's so difficult, so time consuming, and we get stuck.
Yeah,
So a tool that automates that is super powerful.
awesome.
So yeah, you want to make your speakers look great. Then you want to get a lot of clips that are shareable for your social media. And so some people stop at creating the summit, posting the videos, the long form content. Next step is you have to repurpose that content with short clips. And then you're almost at the finish line, but you have to take it a step further. You have to nurture the speakers into leads. You
Mm.
have to offer them things. You have to add more value. You have to get to know them a little more, build a strong relationships. And that's, like I mentioned earlier, it's not for something that you sell for $100. It's not for a SaaS company with a small ticket item. It's more for ACVs, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $100,000. And one of the biggest mistakes is one that we covered probably already is companies showcase their in-house experts, which is boring, very self-serving. Nobody really cares anymore. They see so many of those. And especially in this world, the post-COVID world where you are at home, it's very easy to get distracted, extremely easy to just shut something off. You're not a captive audience. It used to be that you would go to an event, you're for 2 days there, you have nothing else to do, you're sitting back and you're watching a stage, and they can spend a lot of time, pitching you.
Mhm.
Oh, you can easily click that, you close out, nobody will know, and you don't care. So we have to adjust. We have to make them much more short form. We need the shareable clips on social media. So now let's transition. This was the introduction of what is the virtual summit to form these relationships and why it's important. And now we'll cover a few of the how-tos, how to make it successful. Keeping the end goal in mind, that's relationships with clients or channel partners. And you can divide it into three phases: the before, which is your preparation, then the during, which is the execution, and then the after, which is the follow through. And they're all equally important, I would say. To prepare, so now we're at the before, the first phase, the preparation. Define the right speakers. Who are the people that if you had, and you can think of it as salesy or non-salesy as possible,
Mhm.
but who would be the people that you really want to connect? The companies that can take your company to the next level. And that can be a CXO at a company that is probably a little more aspirational for you. These would be great speakers for you. So you identify the speakers. You can create a list of 100 because you should expect about 10 speakers out of 100 people on your outreach list. And how do you find them? One approach is to go on LinkedIn and you say, these are the types of speakers, identify them, create a list. You can put it on Google Sheet or Airtable. But a better approach may be to go on Listen Notes, which is one of those tools. I think it's listennotes.com, where you can search for a specific vertical or specific names or companies, and you see who is already going on podcasts and is more open to sharing their insights. So this way you will increase your hit rate. So if you have 100 people, maybe you will get 20 yeses, versus if you're just reaching cold, you go on LinkedIn and you find these are my ideal targets.
Mm-hmm.
You may need even more than 100 to get your 10. You should have a minimum of 10 for a virtual summit. So go to Listen Notes and then go also to conferences where they show you the agenda and the speakers, so you know who is speaking, and then you can target the same people. Then after you create your list, you have to come up with an exciting theme. And for that one, you can listen to some of the podcasts that these people appear at. Again, going back to Listen Notes, or some podcasts that you and your audience are listening to, and try to find something that's on trend, exciting. And then one interesting thing is that you fake it till you make it. So you iterate your event's landing page. Initially, when it's your first event, you've never done this before, you don't have speakers. So the first person you reach out to, they will say, okay, who else is on there? What's your audience? So what you do is, let's say you have a list of 100 people, take 10 of them, put them on a landing page. You can go on Hey Summit, you can create a landing page with their pictures, with their names, with their topics for the summit. And you can share that page with the next 10, and then the next 10, and the next 10. And you can update it as soon as people say yes. So when you have someone say yes, you can remove somebody else who hasn't said yes, and you update it and you iterate until you have a confirmed list of 10 people. So you start with a non-confirmed list of 10 people, the speakers, because you need to show that it's something serious.
Mm-hmm.
And then you invite them. There's a process in terms of inviting them, answering their questions. And a tip there is to create a swipe file in Google Docs, because you will get a lot of the same questions, like what questions are you going to ask me? What do I need to wear? What is my setup? Or is it recorded? How long is it going to take? All these things, you can have a list, a swipe file, so you can quickly, or you can even assign it to somebody from your team so they can answer all these questions. When you're emailing with 100 people, it can get a little intense.
Yeah, definitely.
Then moving to the execution part, which is the core of this virtual summit, you send your prep questions. You want your speakers to always be prepared so you don't blindside them in the interview, because that will create more editing work, and you want to avoid that as much as possible. And it's very important to have questions that will lead to insightful answers that Lately can pick up later and extract these clips for you. So
Yeah,
that's
that's it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's an excellent point, and I just want to underscore that here, because that's also something that Kate always says. You wanna go over, because she's helped me prep for being on a podcast a couple of times, and she's told me that when you're looking at the questions that are going to be asked, you want to have your answers planned in a way that you're going to have those one-liners, because that's how you're going to get the most out of this in that after piece. You want to have the one-liners, so that way you can use those to promote that longer piece of content on social media. So that is an awesome point, and I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Excellent. We think very much alike. That's
we
awesome.
do.
Yep. Then in terms of recording, you can make it as simple as recording on Zoom. However, the quality is not going to be as good as possible. It's usually half the resolution that you get from other platforms. Riverside.fm is one that we've been using, and it gets very high quality, full HD, and you can even use your phone and it looks even better. And when you're doing the interview, usually budget for about 30 minutes, but spend the 5 minutes initially to help them with the setup, make them comfortable, discuss things, find some commonality, some common ground, just so they feel comfortable for the interview, and then go into already have questions. So nothing should surprise them there. And then the last 5 minutes were like the really valuable part of the conversation for you after you make it off the record. So you stop recording. This is a discussion where you can ask something to go a little deeper from the interview, or you can explain what you're doing and you introduce some of your offerings. So this is where you build the relationship. Don't build it from the beginning, because then it may feel a little salesy and uncomfortable. Initially, just make it about them, make them comfortable. Then the 20 minutes interview, then start creating the relationship. Then you may need to edit these videos. Descript.com is something that's super easy for anyone to do. They have this really cool functionality where you can just transcribe something, select what you don't want, hit delete, and it disappears.
Nice.
And we host on the Hey Summit. It's really super simple to use. And for all these that I'm linking to, there's absolutely no affiliation. It's just that we're using these platforms and we love them.
Awesome.
And then the after, the nurturing. So here, that's where lately I think really shines, because repurposing for social media is something that's very time consuming, very labor intensive. It's brutal, and you can avoid all of that with AI, and lately does that for you.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you, not to not to toot our own horn, but you're absolutely right. That is like the one of the best use cases for what we are doing here. So you take that recording, you upload it into Lately, you go through and it transcribes it for you, and then you're going to get all of those amazing social posts, those one-liners that the AI knows are going to be engaging to your audience in particular. Yes, Chris, toot toot, that's right. Um, so yeah, like I think that this is so incredible. And KP, you're totally right. Like I like I said, not to toot our own horn, but it is perfect.
No, it's perfect. It's a match made in heaven. And never forget to tag speakers. So when you take this from Lately and you post it, you have to tag your speakers so they can see it and then they can share it with their audience.
Yep,
So you're getting a lot more awareness for what you're doing by piggybacking off their reach.
absolutely.
And then after you're done with the event, you have repurposed the content, you have tagged the speakers, then you can continue nurturing by having a newsletter. We've used getreview.co, which is very cool. I hear good things about substack.com. And with the newsletters, you want to think about how do you add value and continue showcasing your expertise. So it can be case studies, it could be bringing more partners on, it could be educational videos. Like for us, it could be for our audience, how do we use Lately? So, or how do we use these 5 different tools to launch your summit? Showcasing different tools can be very powerful because everybody wants to be on the cutting edge and knowing what's out there. And you can also do collaborations. So there are a lot of different options, but don't make it about you and your company and your expertise. It has to be showcasing your expertise by way of adding value and bringing more partnerships to the table. And then after that final stage, it's almost on the finish line. But I think that people who can be really successful with virtual summits, they can keep engaging their audience and adding more value and building these relationships. So starting from the easiest, comment on social posts. I think Gary Vee and many others are saying that spend more time commenting on others than creating your own posts.
Yes.
That's much more valuable because other people can see that. And especially if you can get the first comment, people can see that. That can be even more powerful.
That is such a good point. And I just want to, again, just stress that one, because we often find that a lot of people think like, oh, I just need to post. I have my podcast recording or whatever it may be, and I'm going to use Lately to just post. And then they're like, why isn't anything, why is my audience not growing? Why am I not getting leads? Why don't I get engagement? Because you have to have that back and forth. It's still going to be that human to human kind of thing, right? It's not just like spewing it out and then waiting for the dollars to roll in. So
yeah. And once you do your virtual summit, you're ready now to explore an ongoing podcast, host panel discussions. One that I really like is hosting small group masterminds. And there are some books I've read recently where they have very good structures for masterminds, where you share a win, you share a challenge for the group to help, but you make them small groups, like 10 to 12 people, so it doesn't get overwhelming. You can host networking sessions over Zoom. BNI is a good example where they do 5-minute breakout rooms. You can host M&As with experts that you bring on based on the challenges that you hear from the masterminds or the networking sessions. And then once you've done all that, you've created so much value, so much goodwill, then you can offer free pilots, ask for feedback. That's when you start converting somebody from a highly engaged prospect to a lead and potentially a client. And that's pretty much it. If anybody needs help, I'm more than happy to get on a one-on-one, spend 20-30 minutes and see if we can help them design their own summit. There is no cost, none of that. It's just giving advice to fellow entrepreneurs and people who want to grow their B2B/service type business.
This is fantastic. I think
Cool.
that this has been so incredibly valuable, because I know that just from my perspective, like I said, I honestly did not know all that much about virtual summits and how they were different from conferences. And I think that this has been just so incredibly helpful, and we are so thrilled that you joined us for this today.
Awesome. No, it was my pleasure. It was great.
Yeah, like this has just been so fantastic. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Laura is actually asking, what are some of those books that you've recently read about those mastermind sessions?
Oh, you know what? A really good one was Alex Lee Dumas's The Common Path to Uncommon Profits.
The Common Path to Uncommon Profits.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. And actually,
I don't know if anyone on the Lately team can try to Google that one really fast and pop a link to that in the chat. That would be awesome if you could.
if anyone is interested, I'm also starting a community where we read these books. So I have a lot of books I want to read. I have like 20 next to me.
Amazing.
And instead of me reading the 20, I want to create a community where each of us reads one and we share the key lessons in a private group. So we're doing that as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And if people are interested in learning a bit more about that, should they email you or how is the best way to connect? I popped your LinkedIn into the chat, so they have that, but I can also pop your email in. Would that be helpful?
Sure. Okay, and I have a landing page for that one, 10x effort, number 10xeffort.com. So right. And there I'm posting the presentations. The first book will be Flip the Script, and I have the presentation on there. So if anybody wants to join, great.
Awesome. So I just popped that URL into the chat. I'm also gonna pop his email in here too. Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, this has been so incredibly helpful. Does anybody have any other questions? This has been so fantastic. We really appreciated you coming here and telling us a little bit more. I guess that just about wraps it up. Thank you again, KP. It has been so fantastic. Everyone, please join us next week. We will be joined by Scott Rogerson from Up Content, as well as Katie Jordan, our very own Katie Jordan. We're going to talk some really awesome stuff about Up Content and Lately and Hootsuite. We're super thrilled. KP, thank you again. This has been so amazing. Everyone, find him on LinkedIn. Go to 10xeffort.com and invite me to your virtual summit. I want to be there.
Oh, absolutely. Will do.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for having me.